Callbacks and delegates. What are they? How do we use them? Why should I care? In this video, we'll cover the topic of C# delegates and how they are commonly applied in Unity development. Before we jump into it though, a quick word from our favorite sponsor, me. Become a GitHub sponsor today and get instant access to Heathen's source repository. Source repository gives you instant access to Steamworks, PhysKit, UX, and the rest of Heathen's core assets, as well as sponsor exclusives like our UGUI tools for Steam. Sponsors can install all of Heathen's great assets and sponsor exclusives right from the Unity Package Manager for a streamlined install and update experience. Installing from our source means you have instant access to new assets, features, updates, and fixes as they occur, as well as formal issue and feedback tracking and priority support from Heathen engineers. As a sponsor, you're licensed to use the Heathen IP under the Heathen Standard License, which is a simple and far more flexible and indie-friendly license than seen from other sources, and is yours to keep even if you end your sponsorship. That's right, you can end your sponsorship at any time and keep using what you have installed under the Heathen Standard License. Ending your sponsorship only removes access to the source repository. It does not end the license agreement. If you do end your sponsorship and later need access back, simply renew your sponsorship and drive on. Sponsoring us on GitHub is the best way to do more with Heathen. For just $10, you get instant access to all our core assets, access to exclusives, better licensing terms, and you can cancel anytime, keeping what you have. Learn more at the links in the description or head over to github.com/sponsors/heathenengineering and start sponsoring Heathen today. Just before we get stuck in, let's clear up some terminology that we'll be using a lot in this video. First off, method and function. People use these interchangeably, and in the world of C#, that's fair enough. They are actually two different concepts if you get into the weeds of it, and the definition does depend on the language you're talking about. In C#, the proper term for those things you call or invoke that do some work for you, those are properly called methods. I, however, am an old programmer that still thinks in C, so I still call them functions a lot of the time. Please understand that for this video, if I say function, I really mean method. Moving on then, delegate. So this is probably a new word for you and the main reason you're watching this video. In short, a delegate is a pointer or reference to a method. This lets us define events, which are simply collections of references to methods we can invoke on demand. Delegates also let us pass actions into methods as parameters. That is, we can pass a pointer to a specific method into a method as a parameter. That second use case there, where we are passing a method into a method call as a parameter, that's the crux of callback when you're talking about it as a paradigm. First though, paradigm. Little bonus definition as I don't think I use it very often, but I know it confuses some. So what does paradigm mean? It just means pattern or model or approach. So for example, object-oriented programming and data-oriented design, those are paradigms. That is, they are approaches or patterns that we can use. So now to the point. Callback. I touched on this a bit above. In C# and in Unity in general, when we say callback, we're talking about a paradigm. That is, an approach to designing our objects and methods wherein we can reference a method to call back as a parameter in our methods. This is particularly useful when you're creating a system or application interface that may be multi-process or simply asynchronous. For example, anything networking related, or even things like platform APIs such as PlayFab, Steam, etc., will likely use callbacks, events, or some other delegate model to get work done. So just keep in mind that when we say callback or callbacks, we're talking about a pattern of code design where we use delegates to pass methods as parameters into some method calls. It's very similar in concept to events or event-driven design. An event, for note, is a delegate that is referenced as an attribute or field on an object or in a system. A callback, in contrast, is a parameter on a method, pointing to a method, to be used in that method's process. At the end of the day, though, they both do the same thing. They point to a method or methods that will be called when needed. Wonderful. So now we know what a delegate is in theory. We understand what is meant when we or others are talking about callbacks and events. So why do we care? Well, in modern game design, event-driven systems and integrations with multiple services or processes is commonplace. So you are almost definitely going to be working with events and callbacks even in very simple game projects. For example, if you use Unity's UGUI, then you're using the Unity event system. This system detects hid state changes and raises or invokes events associated with them. If you're integrating with Steam or really any other platform API, you're now working multi-process. That is, the Steam client is a separate process from your game, and as a result, interactions with it are implicitly asynchronous. This is usually handled via delegates, such as events and callbacks. A common example is the loadImage method of Heathen's userData This method takes a pointer to a method that will be invoked when the image is done loading. That is, the loadImage method has a callback that will be called when the image is done loading. In the description on this video, you'll find links to a simple project that demonstrates the use of Unity events, as well as using action and callback methods. This sample script is highly commented and should paint a clear picture on how to use Unity event and actions. We also have a knowledge base article on callbacks, which includes code snippets demonstrating common use cases. Finally, as always, there's the Heathen Discord server, where you can chat with Heathen engineers and your fellow Unity developers on this and many more subjects. I hope you found this informative and the samples useful. If so, consider clicking the like button and subscribing to be notified of new videos. If you want to support Heathen in the creation of more content like this, head over to our GitHub sponsors page and sponsor us. GitHub sponsors a feature a lot like Patreon, and that it's a way you can directly support us. There are multiple tiers to choose from. For example, the $10 tier comes with awesome perks like instant access to Steamworks Complete, BizKit, UX, and the rest of our premium assets via direct access to our source repositories right on GitHub. Don't forget to join our Discord server and say hi, and be sure to let us know what you think of this video and what other topics you'd like to see us cover.